Hello folks, welcome to our channel, Phyniks Media. Today we will be walking through the movie named It's a Wonderful Life, released in 1946. Let's begin. In Bedford Falls, New York, on Christmas Eve 1945, George Bailey thinks about suicide. The prayers of his family and friends are heard in heaven, where guardian angel second-class Clarence Oddbody is tasked with saving George in order for him to earn his wings. Clarence is shown memories from George's life. He witnesses 12-year-old George saving his younger brother Harry from drowning. George had lost hearing in his left ear due to being in the freezing water. Before starting college in 1928, George plans a global tour. He is reintroduced to Mary Hatch, who has had feelings for him since childhood. When George's father dies unexpectedly, he delays his trip to settle the family business. Bailey Brothers Building and Loan. Henry Potter, who controls the majority of the town, attempts to dissolve it, but the board votes to keep the building and loan running if George runs it. George agrees to work with his uncle Billy, teaching Harry with the belief that when Harry graduates, he will lead the business. George accepts the responsibility of managing the building and loan when Harry returns from college, married and with a job offer from his father-in-law. Mary and George revive their romance and get married. They witness a banking crisis and use their honeymoon money to keep the building and loan business running. Under George's leadership, the corporation creates Bailey Park, a housing development that outperforms Potter's pricey slums. Potter offers George a $20,000 a year job, but George rejects him because he realizes Potter's ultimate aim is to close the building and loan. The day before Christmas 1945, when Bedford Falls will hold a huge party for Harry, a bank examiner shows up to carry out a normal audit. The following day, Uncle Billy goes to the bank to make the usual deposit of $8,000 in cash. When Potter walks by, Billy eagerly shows him the newspaper with the news about Harry. He folds the newspaper with the cash envelope in it by accident, and Potter takes it back. Billy then realizes he has misplaced the money. Potter, who is now in another room, notices this and sneaks out. There is a commotion as Billy informs George of his loss. George and Billy looked everywhere for the money. George yells at Billy that this means bankruptcy, scandal, and prison, and that he, George, is not the one who will go to prison. George returns home in a terrible mood to his family, who are preparing for a Christmas party that evening. George is incredibly bitter and angry, and harshly mistreats everyone and even asks, "Why do we have to have all these kids?" His behavior has worried the entire family. He discovers that their youngest daughter, Zuzu, is sick in bed. She supposedly caught it on her way home from school, without buttoning her coat because she didn't want to damage a rose she had been given. George approaches her. Some petals fall off the rose when being handled. George puts them in his watch pocket. George runs out of the house, refusing to talk about what's wrong or bothering him. Mary calls Uncle Billy to find out what's wrong. The children ask if they should pray for their father, and Mary says yes. George visits Mr. Potter to request a loan of $8,000 from him. Mr. Potter is utterly cold and sarcastic. Potter inquiries about collateral. George only has a $15,000 life insurance policy with a $500 equity. Mr. Potter says, "You're worth more dead than alive." George reaches Mr. Martini's barn and begins drinking, and then praying for divine guidance. Suicidal, he goes to a nearby bridge, but before he can jump, Clarence dives into the river, and George rescues him. When George wishes he had never been born, Clarence shows George a timeline in which he never existed. Clarence points out that many things will be changed now that George can hear through his left ear. Bedford Falls is now Pottersville, an entertainment district overflowing with violence and ruthless people. George's mother does not know him. After the building and loan failed, Uncle Billy was incorporated. Bailey Park is a cemetery, where George discovers Harry's grave. Harry drowned as a youngster in the absence of George, and the soldiers on the transport ship died in the absence of Harry's efforts to save them. Mary, who is now a spinster, is found by George. When he holds her up and introduces himself as her husband, she screams and runs. George returns to the bridge and begs Clarence to return to his life. The original reality has been restored, and George rushes home to await his arrest. Meanwhile, Mary and Billy have appealed to the townspeople, who walk into the Bailey home and donate more than enough money to make up for the lost money. Harry arrives and toasts George as the richest man in town. Among the donations, George discovers a copy of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, a gift from Clarence, and inscribed, "Remember, no man is a failure who has friends. Many thanks for the wings." When a Christmas tree bell rings, George's youngest daughter, Zuzu, says that every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. George looks upward, smiling, and says, "Attaboy, Clarence. Sign off." Please subscribe and stay tuned for more movie recaps, and thanks for watching.